Welcome to Leaders of the West, a podcast for innovators and changemakers. I'm your host, Jessie Jarvis, the founder of the West, and I'm sitting down with agriculturalists, entrepreneurs, executives, and everyone in between with the goal of digging into the strategies, mindsets, and lessons that have been crucial to the success of ag and Western. Whether you're carrying on the next generation of your family's operation, starting something from scratch, or determined to climb up the leadership ladder, we're going to inspire you to continue to dream big, growing not just you, but the future of agriculture and Western as a whole. Let's go. I know we have a number of you listeners who are solo entrepreneurs or you own your own creative or professional business. You don't want a full-time or a part-time job, but you're always on the hunt for new clients and customers. And that's easier said than done, which is why we created the directory. It's a place where entrepreneurs and businesses just like you can be found by those who are looking for your skills and services. Whether you are a photographer, a graphic designer, a business consultant, a marketing agency, a virtual assistant, an event speaker, an event planner, a lawyer, a bookkeeper, an accountant, you can see where I'm going with this, right? As long as you have a business that's based in the ag and Western industries, then you're a fit to be listed on the directory. There's a section where you can tell who you are and what you do. You can share your work portfolio or customer testimonials. You can add the specific platforms and programs that you're a wizard in. Those profiles that we have are really, really robust because we want people to be able to easily search and find what they're looking for, which is YOU. All in all, the directory is a great way to get in front of your ideal customer or client and a new audience that you maybe wouldn't have reached before because they're outside of your inner circle of who can mention your name in those word of mouth recommendations. If you're ready to create your profile on the directory, you can go to ofthewest.co to get started. That is ofthewest.co. You guys will love it. Trust me. Hello, and welcome to this week's episode of Leaders of the West. I know I tell you guys this every single episode, but holy cow, I am just so appreciative of having you here as a listener. I really do believe that we have the best of the best listeners, and I hope you know that every time I say that, which I know is every week, I honest to goodness mean it. Even more than I did the week before. You guys are the best. It does not go unnoticed, and I am just incredibly grateful and thankful for you. So with that, today's episode is a solo episode, and I'm going to make it short and sweet, but it's been a while since I've done a solo episode, and there's two reasons behind that. So one is September through December is just an insanely busy time for us, whether it is ranch-wise, of the West-wise, and so I've gotten a little bit behind on recording solo episodes. I always try to be a few in advance, but that hasn't happened lately, so it worked out well, though, to skip some solo episodes because the women who have been on the show recently, and you guys know we don't just cater to women, but I think we've had like 4 or 5 women in a row. So Melissa Grimel-Shockey, they had their bull sale, and so I wanted to get her episode out in advance so that those of you who are interested in tuning into that could do so with enough time to like make business buying decisions. And then specifically for Nevada, Watt Miller and Nicole Poyo Brennan. I like that all of these women, they've kept their maiden name in their middle name, and I like that. But anyways, both of those women are involved with Be a Maker School and have courses with Be a Maker School. And so Be a Maker School is only open for enrollment the first 2 weeks of every quarter. So I wanted to get their episodes launched with enough time so that those of you who were interested in enrolling in those courses could do so. If you're listening to this and you're worried, oh no, I missed it, don't worry. Be a Maker School will open again January 1st through the 14th. I am one of the instructors in a course called The Business of Making. So if you are interested in enrolling in that and you didn't get a chance to in October, there is still time. You're just going to have to wait till January. And then with Judy Wagner and her documentary, Nice Job Cowgirl, I knew that that was going to be a huge thing coming in December, and I wanted to have enough time where she got to share her story ahead of that. And then for those of you who are going to be in Las Vegas in December, and you will be at South Point for that documentary airing, that you would be able to kind of make plans for that. And then obviously with Lisa Whitman and the beneficial ownership information reporting that we had talked about, which if you're wondering like, hey, Jessie, what is that? I kind of missed it. If you own a business, if you own an LLC or a corporation, and you have not yet filled out the beneficial ownership information reporting, you've never heard of it before, hit pause on this episode, go back an episode and listen to Lisa Whitman. It is absolutely crucial. If you have an LLC or a corporation and you do not file those forms before the end of the year, you're going to get fined. Friends don't let friends get fined. So all of that to say, we had a lot of really time-sensitive episodes that I wanted to get aired. So that was another reason I was like, oh, well, it's not that big of a deal if I skip a solo episode because I don't have one recorded anyways. But we're back in action and I am thrilled to be here. And today I have a couple of pieces of not necessarily advice, but maybe we'll call them professional tips. The two are completely unrelated, but they are things that I have noticed in life or that I've had experience with in a professional setting. And I just want to share them with you. So the first one is in making introductions. How many times have you been in a conversation with somebody and they need something from someone and they don't know the person and you're like, oh, wait, I know the perfect person. I'd like to make an introduction. Or you've been on the receiving end of an introduction, right? You're telling somebody about this thing that you need and they're like, oh my gosh, I know the perfect person who could help you. I'll make an introduction. My first professional tip when it comes to making introductions. If you are going to be the person who is making the introduction, meaning that you are the connector, I highly encourage and or recommend you ask permission first. And here's why I feel that way. Connections and introductions are absolutely wonderful. The world could not work without them. But at the same time, when we want to be helping somebody, we can also be overwhelming maybe the person that we're trying to make the introduction with. We also have the potential to accidentally or unknowingly overwhelm the person that we're making the introduction with. You know, maybe they're in a super busy period of life, or maybe they have a deadline coming up, or maybe they're having family issues and like they're pouring into those and they don't necessarily have time to pour into somebody else. So I always, before I make an introduction of some kind, I always ask the person I'm going to introduce, like the helper, if you will, I always ask their permission. I usually send a text or an email like, hey, I was talking with somebody about whatever the problem was, and they're looking for whatever it is that they're looking for. I think that you would be a great person to help them with it, or whatever it is. Do you care if I introduce you? Again, it's a really easy thing to send as a text. You can send it as an email. I wouldn't send it in the mail because it's going to take too long probably, but you get what I'm saying. And more often than not, the person that you are going to introduce the other person to always says yes. But in the chance that they say no, one, never take it personally. It's probably coming from a really important place and a good place, but it just feels really good to ask permission in that. It's helpful for everybody. And then two, you're not just blindly introducing somebody because we've all gotten those emails before in our inbox. You're like, wait a minute, you're introducing me to who or to what? Like, I don't know that I have time for this right now, or like, I'd like to help, but I can't, or whatever it may be. It's just really important to always ask permission first. Now, second piece of my advice when it comes to introductions via email. Holy cow, are they awkward? Because I am sending an email to Sarah and Ashley to introduce them. And then Sarah replies to me and Ashley, and then Ashley replies to me and Sarah, and then Sarah and Ashley need to be talking, and I don't really need to be involved in the conversation, but somehow I am still getting this thread of emails in my inbox, and it's like this hamster wheel that I can't get out of. We have all been there. And unfortunately, this is something that you never seem to learn in college of like, how do I appropriately introduce two people and then kind of like excuse myself from the introduction? Or how do I, if I've been the one that's introduced, how do I politely remove the person who introduced us from the rest of this? So here's how I always make introductions via email. I don't want to tell you that this is the right way. I have not yet found a better way of doing it, and I absolutely love it. So if Sarah is going to introduce me to Ashley via email, Sarah is going to start the email and she's going to send it to me and Ashley. I am going to reply to everybody, but I'm going to put Sarah in the BCC. So she's going to get the email, but then she's never going to get any emails back through this email chain or email correspondence that Ashley and I are sending one another. So I am going to put Ashley's name. I'm going to take her out of the CC, assuming that's where she was. Maybe she was already in the 2. She's going to be the person in the 2. Sarah is going to move down into BCC. And then my first sentence in the email, aside from like, hey, everybody, or hi, everyone, I'm going to say Sarah. In parentheses, I'm going to write in BCC. That way, Ashley doesn't look at this email and say, well, you said that Sarah's in here, but I don't see her. Because again, remember, I'm putting Sarah's name in BCC. So when Ashley opens up this email, she's not going to be able to see that I've sent it to Sarah. So I write Sarah in parentheses, in BCC, thank you so much for the introduction. I really appreciate it. Then I tell Ashley whatever it is that I need to tell Ashley. And that way, Ashley and I can have the correspondence back and forth. Sarah can be eliminated from the conversation, but we're also acknowledging Sarah. She knows that we're following up on the introduction and we're thanking her for the introduction. So that is how I live and die by email introductions. And I learned this from a woman named Alexa Von Tobel. She is an absolute badass. And I think so highly of her. She has an incredible podcast called For Starters. And it's really geared towards those who are founders, whether it's a startup or just a general business. She was the founder and CEO of a company called LearnVest, and now she's the founder and managing partner of a company called Inspired Capital. And they really focus on funding female business ventures. But anyways, I learned that little trick from Alexa Von Tobel, and it is the way that I live and die by when it comes to introductions via email. Okay, and then the last thing that I'm going to talk about when it comes to introductions. When somebody makes an introduction and you are the person that has the potential to benefit, whether it is a connection that is somebody's going to then use your service or you're going to be able to sell something, always say thank you. There is nothing worse, in my opinion, than when I make a really awesome introduction for two people and somebody has the opportunity to massively benefit from that introduction and that person doesn't tell me thank you. I've had that happen with the same person actually on two different occurrences. And at this point now, I kind of feel like they are ungrateful for the introductions that I'm making for them. And so I'm probably not going to make any future introductions. Instead, when somebody is looking for the thing that this person does, I'm probably going to go think of somebody else in my mental Rolodex of who can help them because I feel like this person hasn't necessarily been very grateful for the introductions that I've made. So again, say thank you, be grateful. It is absolutely free to do. It means a whole heck of a lot, and it can absolutely lead to future business. Because obviously, if you don't say thank you, you have the potential to offend somebody, like how I have been slightly offended, and you may not be on the receiving end of those introductions in the future. Okay, the next professional tip that I want to give you guys is the importance of professional photos. Anybody who works in any kind of a business, whether you work for somebody else, whether you work for yourself, you need a professional photo. It does not, I repeat, it does not need to be some Fortune 500 suit and tie, super professional headshot. It does not need to be some JCPenney style studio headshot, but you absolutely need something that looks professional. So there are two types of professional photos that work wonderfully. A lifestyle shot, which means that it's going to be outside, kind of in the element that you are involved in, or obviously it can be more of a studio shot. We just wrote a really good resource on this that can be found on our website, and I'll make sure to link it here in the show notes as well. These types of photos are perfect for LinkedIn. They are perfect for your directory profile if you have one, or anywhere else that you would need a photo like that. Please don't use a selfie. They just don't look professional. Also, please don't use AI because in most cases, I'm going to say 95% of the time, people can still tell that it's AI. And you are a real person. People want to do business with real people. If you are using AI to create a photo of yourself, that's technically a fake photo. And you definitely don't want people that you are thinking you're fake, especially when you're a real person and you are great at what you do and you are the most down-to-earth, honest person. The last thing that you want is your professional photo to be giving off the vibe that you are fake. And these types of photos, honestly, you guys, they're asked for quite often. Anytime that you are going to be speaking at an event, offering your expertise on a webinar, maybe you're taking part in a podcast interview, the businesses and people that you are working with, they want to include you in the marketing materials of whatever it is that you're doing. And marketing, as we know, is a very visual thing. So you will absolutely be setting yourself ahead if you take the initiative to go get that style of photo taken. And before you tell me, well, Jessie, I don't like taking photos. Honestly, unless you are a legitimate model or an actor, I don't know anybody who does actually enjoy taking photos. I can't tell you how many photos I've taken, and it is still so awkward. And I can tell you another person who absolutely does not enjoy them, Justin Jarvis. That the amount of photos that he has sat through, family photos, having various film crews here, whatever it is terribly awkward and he is always the best sport about it. And he's still alive to tell you about it. And I know that if he were on this podcast right now, he would tell you the same thing. So quit making excuses, quit being a pansy, get uncomfortable, and just take the dang photos. And the other thing that I will say, if you are a photographer and you are listening to this, here is a great idea. We have all heard of these mini sessions where you put together a set and you have parents sign up for their time slot and you hammer out some seasonal or holiday photos of their kids. Please start offering the same thing for people who need to update their professional photos, because I think a lot of the hang up for people in doing professional photos is they think, well, man, I don't really want to spend this large sum of money on photos when in reality, I really only need 1 or 2 photos. Obviously, as you know, part of the selling factor of a mini session is it's a shorter window of time. It is a more affordable product. There are fewer photos that the person is receiving. And obviously, it's great for you because you're able to schedule them to make it worth your time. You guys, I am not kidding. This absolutely needs to be a thing. I want to hear about somebody who was listening to the show and they have now decided to start offering mini sessions for professional photos. I honestly, if you were going to ask me how to do it, I'll tell you how to do it. You offer a set in the spring and you offer a set in the fall and put together a couple of different options for those who are wanting something indoor and those who need something maybe more outdoor or lifestyle, or find a venue or a place where you could offer both. Trust me, I feel like that is going to be the hottest commodity. You could also reach out to businesses who need to update the photos for their employees for their websites, because most of the time those photos are not up to date at all. But there are so many ways that you can go and sell that. So if you're a photographer listening to this, there's my business idea for you. Take it, run with it. Anyways, those are my 2 professional tips for you guys today on making introductions and the importance of professional photos. If there are other little business tips like this that you want to hear, let me know. Or if there is something that you have a question on and you want to answer, maybe it's a topic that we could turn into one of these types of future episodes as well. And as always, if you had a takeaway from today's episode, please do me a favor. Take a screenshot of the show or post a story with your biggest takeaway and tag me or tag Of the West in it. We love seeing those. We love hearing your feedback in that way. So we are forever grateful when you guys do that, but we're always forever grateful for you, as you know. And with that, we'll catch you back here next week for another episode of Leaders of the West.
If you loved this episode, do us a favor and share it with someone else who might find just as much value in it as you did. We're on a mission to continue to grow and strengthen the future of agriculture and Western industries, and you spreading the word helps us make more of a positive impact. It also makes a big difference when you take a minute to go rate and review the show. We can't thank you enough for listening, for sharing, and for loving Ag and Western as much as we do. We'll see you back here for our next episode.